Okay, welcome divas and dudes. I'm Suzanne Parker and this is the Powerhouse Bakery Kitchen, all things nutrition and super healthy. We have been working with Reinvent of the Salad. And today I have some really fun twists. I hope you're going to be really excited to follow along and hopefully learn something new. I always do learn something new when I get to do these classes with you. So when we talk about reinvent, we don't mean to get rid of all the great things that we know. We just know that if we can reinvent how we look at foods, that'll give us a whole new twist. And when I think of salad, I also think of lots of greens, and sometimes we want to put in meat. Sometimes we want to put in more plant-based. And so up till now, you've seen some great varieties of different vegetables, all living in their own little category, so that the Buddha bowl style will have lots of interest and intrigue, always looking at building your best foods list. So getting ideas of how to add new flavors and new techniques so that we can really get an interesting salad that maybe is just not the tired old, leafy greens and cherry tomatoes. Not that we don't love them, but. So today I'm going to do something really, I hope, different, and we're going to get rid of oils. So no oils. And so I know I always talk about the value of olive oil, and I still believe it. We've gone through the Mediterranean, and we've talked a lot about the Mediterranean pyramid and how, almost right in the center is olive oil and the value of healthy fish oil. And so I want to diverge a little bit from that. And if we were to compare the nutritional qualities of an oil versus foods with oil, where would your mind go? So if fats are healthy, what if we were to take that to the next level and say whole foods that provide us with fats, whole foods that give us this very important nutrient? So that's kind of where I'm going. Can you think of some whole foods that provide fat that we know live under the halo of healthy? Nuts. What? Salmon, avocado. Yes. So that is going to be our playground today. What if we were to use, instead of a refined oil, what instead of olive oil could we use? Olives. So if you were going to dress a pizza, say, and it was a pita bread, or if it was a cauli crust or something that was going to hold flavors, and instead of putting olive oil on it, what if we were to slice olives? So, that's kind of the idea. But I want us to keep going with it. We know that fats do provide us with some important nutrients. What are they? The essential fatty acids, so essential fatty acids. And these are those little building block molecules that are critical for our health and wellness, right? Also, they help to carry the essential soluble vitamins that are fat soluble. So vitamins A, E, D, and sometimes even K are carried by the essential fats. So if you were to say, well, Suzanne, if I take out all the oils, I'm not going to be able to fully absorb and, of course, integrate those essential fat soluble vitamins, right? And so that's what I want to help you see is the answer is, well, no. I mean, we are still going to get those essential nutrients. So here's an idea. What if we were to, instead of having oil, just use the full food? So I've kind of mentioned that with the idea of the olives, and we've mentioned it with nuts and seeds. You know that I add the mighty seeds to a lot of our recipes, and we know right off the bat that's giving our food what? So if we think of seeds, nuts, especially the mighty seeds that blend, what's in the mighty seeds? It's chia, hemp, and flax. So the mighty seeds is just a term I created, Powerhouse Bakery term. And I knew that I wanted to add nutrients to food. So I found some seeds that I could mix in that were fairly benign in flavor. It's not a strong flavor, so I could kind of sneak them in without it changing it too much. And the beauty is that it's giving us essential fats, essential fatty acids, plus what else is it giving us? We know that protein is high in seeds, right? If you're eating a vegan diet and you are trying to eat more plant-based protein, you've heard me say, what do we want to add more to our diet? Seeds to get more protein. So we know protein is part of this equation. And what else? Fiber. Fiber is also going to be really rich in these seeds. We even get a little bit of complex carbs. Not a lot, but even a little bit, especially when we look at some of the other seeds and then, of course, nuts. Can anybody think of a nut that is really part of the legume family? Yes, you guys are so smart. Peanut. Peanuts are rich in fats, protein, and carbohydrates. So when we're trying to make a fancy new dish for the keto-friendly elements in our bakery, we have to be really careful using peanut butter because it has a significant amount of carbohydrates. Now, while peanuts aren't exactly a nut or a seed, they're actually a legume. We kind of think of it that way, don't we? We think of it as a nut. And when we spread it on our toast or we make a peanut butter sandwich, we kind of think of it as a nut butter. But also, you'll notice that some of the other nuts and seeds also have a small amount of carbohydrate. So the good news is it's a really great food when you start adding in seeds and nuts to our diet. Now, how about now we try to compare seeds and nuts to the oil family? So instead of doing a saute with, say, some tahini, we tried to use olive oil. Is olive oil going to give us any protein? Nope, no protein. Is it going to give us any minerals? No minerals. Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't even say that down here, so beg your pardon. Fiber, complex carbs, and minerals, so micronutrients, we know are rich in seeds and nuts. Micronutrients. But when we go to the refined oil, what is in the ingredients? Pretty much just oil. It doesn't have a lot of the minerals, a little bit, but it's not going to be much. It might be trace amounts because it's predominantly going to be all fat. So while we do believe that olive oil is a good oil, I think it's really cool when we start thinking about every chance we get, if we were to take out the pure fat that you pour, and sometimes even over pour. Have you ever made a stir fry and it's just like, darn, that's too much oil. It's heavy. And I've told you many times to use a little decanter that has a stopper at the end, and it helps you to really control how much you take out. And remember one time I did a class and I bought a brand new one and it was so slow. That was actually because I overfilled it. It didn't have enough air pocket to, let the flow. But nonetheless, getting a small amount of oil is ideal when you're doing that kind of cooking, not too much. But what if we were to switch gears, take out the liquid oil altogether, and then start using nuts and seeds as a variety? And of course, the humble avocado. We know that the avocado oil is out there. Anybody use avocado oil? So those that you raised your hands, I hope and pray you never use it again, that instead you use the real fruit. I know, right? And I'm telling you, it's one of those things that has fallen under the halo of healthy. We think, oh, avocado, it's good. Maybe I should just buy the oil. And I always say it's much rather to chew your food than to drink. Now, I know you're not drinking oil, but the principle is the same. And so I'm going to carry this idea in a few more of our classes. So it's kind of a perfect segue class because we've been talking about the salad, which we so often go, well, what dressing are we going to use, right? You guys all ask that. And I did show you like the ginger lime and the Suzette and ways to mix and match. And I love walnut oil. But now I want us to just sort of turn the chapter and say, what if instead of walnut and olive oil and avocado oil, we now play with the actual fruit and of course the seeds and nuts. So we've got avocado And we've got cashews. Anybody try making cashew cream? No, but you are going to see it today. Absolutely cool. Now, take this note because to prepare the cashews, you need to soak them at least for 20-30 minutes in boiling water, which is what I did today. Or you could soak them overnight, and put them in the fridge. They're a fairly resilient nut, so, you can soak them, and you could even boil them also, both steps, but that's not obligatory. It's just a matter of how creamy do you want it and what kind of tool are you using to make your sauce. But I like to just soak them for 20 minutes. That's the fastest method. And then I'm going to show you how to use the NutriBullet, and we're going to mix our sauce, and we're going to add all the layers of flavor to the sauce. And so the fat addition, we've got the 2 items here and 1 more, which is tahini. Anybody know what tahini is made out of? Yeah, sesame seeds. So we could eat the whole seed, or we could have just ground up seeds, just like I could use cashew butter instead of the actual cashews. But sometimes when you get them packaged, there will be other added ingredients. So I was careful to get one that didn't. But I tell you, it's very hard to find sun butter. What do you think sun butter is made out of? Yeah, sunflower seeds. It's really hard to find sun butter without added sugar or salt. I'd like to add in our own, right? So that's why I want to show you these different ways to do it from scratch. And then, as we build our salad, I promised you there would be some meat. So I'm even going to bring in the tuna. This summer menu at Powerhouse Bakery, we have the Maui tuna salad. It's really popular, and we use a really good quality tuna as the base. So when we build our salads today, I want to be able to show you several different sauces, and then we're dressing up our Maui tuna, again for the layers of flavor. And anytime you build your salad, you want to have them in little compartments so that you can really enjoy the flavors. And then to kind of tie it all together, I'm going to drizzle the sauce over it. So now you've got this really nice cohesive salad that feels like a complete set. Okay? One other thing I'm going to show you before we get started is how to sweeten and using the whole fruit. At Powerhouse Bakery, I really don't use dates. And so this is going to be really adventure for me. We normally use fruit juices, and we've even been using plums to sweeten. So now I'm learning too, and I want to try dates. When I originally designed the Parker bar, I looked at dates, but I thought, gosh, plums have so much more minerals. Magnesium, potassium. So the old wives' tale, and it's actually really true, that if you have any trouble with movement through your digestive tract, if you eat plums, magic occurs. And so that's because of the high content of magnesium and potassium, all those electrolytes. Dates aren't quite as high, but let's just say they're also very sweet and also really easy to use. And so we're going to include that into our whole setup. Lastly, I want to show you some of the items that we're going to cook with that will really lend itself to cooking without oil. You have seen my air fryer before, and I thought, well, I'm just going to be adventurous and get you a smaller one to look at so you could see. If you didn't want the one that has all those different functions, you could go right to the source and get an actual just air fryer. So that is what we're going to do in our kitchen today. Get ready. All right, so here we are. We're all set up, ready to do some production, and I'm going to show you first what I have in my air fryer. So I guess Lindsay saved me because she thought it was getting too burned, but it's probably because I had such a small amount in here. But I cooked these beautiful sweet potato fries with no oil. I added a little bit of my Taco Tango spice and a little bit of garlic salt. And oh my goodness, those look so pretty. They are crispy, y'all. I never say y'all. That was a total accident. Californians do not do that. But look how pretty. They are crunchy and gorgeous. Now, the trick with using this is to cut them fairly thin so they can cook quickly and about the same size. And look, I didn't do a very good job. That piece is a little bigger than that piece, right? So you can certainly work on your technique. I'm going to show you a couple of techniques today for cutting them, because sweet potatoes are hard. But we don't have to leave it to just sweet potatoes. This air fryer had a setting for sweet potato, so I thought, well, that's nice and easy. We'll just use that one. But, you know, it's basically a basket. You slide it in, and I had my beautiful Bella read the directions while I just started pushing buttons. And so she guided me. But it's pretty simple. The menu comes up. You can select if you wanted to fry fish or chicken, which, you know, we don't do. And then other larger items, and looks like shrimp. So it's kind of giving you some pre-selected items. And then there's a temperature that goes along with it. So I use the highest one, which is 400. Actually, no, it's always going to be the same. Beg your pardon. It's just the times that change. And then you can go up and down to vary that. So I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. And we're going to do one more item. You'll see it turns off once I lift out the tray. Anybody know what this is? Yes, and it's one of our newest vegetables for our summer menu. So I'm gonna cut up a few of these, and we are gonna air fry while we make our sauce. Now this, yeah, so chayote, is that how you pronounce it? Yes, so I'm going to just do some cubes. It's a very interesting squash. Who has cooked with this before? Only one. Okay, Seema, talk to us. What do you do with it?
Always with lentils, like it's a soup base, because it kind of reduces the calorie burden of the lentil and it absorbs all flavors. So it's like zucchini.
Yes, exactly.
Zucchini or okra squash, it's bland. So anything you put it in,
yes,
it gives mass.
I love that. So as Seema was saying, in case you all didn't hear, she said it reduces the calorie load of the lentils. I thought that was beautifully said. Now I'm not typically worried about the calorie load of lentils, but it also kind of softens the density of that type of food. So I love that. And it's a pretty neutral flavor. So it'll take on whatever flavors you give it. Now, as I'm cutting through this, and I'm not using any good knife skills because it's such a weird little vegetable, I haven't figured it out yet. But I want to show you, let me cut one more. There's an interesting little pit inside. You can see that. It's a long seed. So you have to actually get that out. I think it's tough, right, Seema?
Also, the other way we eat it, it's usually a summer vegetable. It's supposed to be very light. So you just saute it in hot oil, some cumin seeds, and this, and salt and black pepper.
There you go.
So it's a very light summer afternoon.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So now she had mentioned that she would saute it in hot oil with some cumin seeds. I love that. And so this is just going to be a version of cooking without the oil. And we're still going to add flavor. So with the sauces that I'm making today, I'm using our Taco Tango and our adobo and even the curry it up. You'll see that when we start working with the NutriBullet, it really just blenderizes, and you start with a fat substitute, which is going to be one of our items here, the cashew and the avocado, and then we add flavors. So you can't really go wrong. With these little beauties, I'm just going to add a little bit of my salt and of my spices and put it in the air fryer. Now this, Lindsay saved it, and it was, kind of, she thought it was burning. They actually look beautiful. I wouldn't call them burned. If she'd probably left it any longer, maybe you could have, because it was auto set, to the time. But this is a nice sticky texture. The sweet potato, as I cut it, was somewhat dry. So without oil, I was sort of wanting to add something to make it stick. But I resisted the urge. I just put on my flavors and popped it in, and it turned out really awesome. So now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to add my adobo. I'm going to be pretty generous because, like Seema said, it's a fairly neutral flavor. And I don't have any salt in my spice blends. So the flavor layer is also going to come when I make the sauce. There we go. That looks great. All right, so we're gonna put it into the tray. I have to say, on my other air fryer, I kind of like that it's flat. This one is a deep container, you know, so maybe, I don't know, maybe I kind of like the idea of if you had it flat, you'd get better circulation around all the parts. If you don't have an air fryer and you wanted to put this in your oven, you would also consider a Silpat, a silicone mat. And, you know, just make sure all the pieces are kind of spread around, because then the airflow really gets it. The air fryer is just a new technology, so it probably just doesn't need that, because there's holes all around that basket, so it does encourage the airflow. So I love this size of potato versus this one. Now we're going to do rings in this one, but when you want a French fry, this is a great one. Granted, nature does not always plan well, and sometimes gives us, thank you, that's perfect. Doesn't always give us perfect sweet potatoes, but I really love it when we get lucky and find some like this. So then we can get these long, beautiful strips, and yeah, we can cut them in half and make these really awesome looking sweet potato fries. With this one, you know, when we have lemons, we just make lemonade, right? So I'm gonna cut these in a disc. So try to get them about the same size and round, and they will turn out beautifully. So either way, they're absolutely gorgeous. I'll finish cutting these babies up, and if we have time at the end, we'll cook some more. So again, I'm cutting them long ways. I'm leaving the skin on. What's the skin gonna do for us? More nutrients, more fiber. Absolutely. So never waste your time peeling a potato. Do scrub it. Scrub it, even if you want to use a little bit of mild soap, like your dish soap is perfectly fine, but look how pretty. So those will be on our next cook. And so good shape of potato, or you could almost call them French fries, right? Air fried French fries. Has anybody done that?
I just made some yesterday, and I sliced them like you did in the rounds, but then I cut the rounds in half so they look like a cat moon.
Oh, very nice.
It makes it cook a little faster, and everything kind of sticks on in your oil.
Sure, sure. No, I love it. You know, it's one of those things where you work with the size, and if you get lucky, you get them like this. This one wasn't as easy, which is why I kind of got some different shapes and sizes, but they're still just delicious. Now, anybody have a NutriBullet? Yes, okay, good. Quite a few of you do. I'm excited to be able to use this. I think it's a great way to just have a quick blend of a sauce. So up here, I've got my recipes for you, and if you don't already have them, make sure you write them down. On this first one, we're going to do a cup of cilantro, and you don't really have to cut it much at all. I'm just going to get rid of the stems, and I'm going to save the stems for another cooking adventure, because I can use that to make some stock. So I got my 1 cup of cilantro. I've got my half of an avocado. So I went to H-E-B this morning, and I talked with the produce guy, and I said, I need some really ripe ones. And of course, you know what it's like at H-E-B. They're either really hard or they're really, really soft. And I said, these feel like they're soft, but what happens if they're dark and ugly inside? You guys know you can return them. So I kept my receipt very safe, because if it's not pretty, I'm going to return it. All right? But yay, that's pretty good, right? So the trick when you're looking for an avocado that you want to have good softness and hopefully no black spots is it should feel soft, but not like there's a little dent. If there's a dent and almost feels like it's hollow in the back, that means it's probably not going to be so pretty. It's going to be moldy. Sometimes too, when the avocado has been refrigerated too much, almost, chilled, a little cold, I know that's important when they're transporting them, but if they get too cold, that ruins the whole thing, right? And I'm still not sure if that's what causes those black veins, or just that it's been held too long. Anybody know? No? The secrets of avocados. Okay, so a cup of cilantro, half of an avocado. Now, I could have probably left the seed in that other half, right? It keeps it from getting brown, but we're gonna make another batch anyway. So, but yeah, that would have been a great thing for me to do if I was knowing that I wasn't gonna use it. For my lime, I'm gonna squeeze, and you know, it's, some of the recipes will have you use half of a lime, but I'm like, why would we only wanna use a half? A lime is such a great flavor. If you don't already have a rammer, they're great to have, the little wooden ones. But if I don't have it handy, a spoon works great too. I'm just going to try to loosen up all that wonderful pulp so it'll let loose of its juice. Get a little bit more in here. And then my garlic. So a lot of you know that we can use the tube of garlic that's already, you know, prepped. But if we're going to really try to stay away from processed items, let's use the whole clove. So I know a lot of you had asked, how do you pick out the best produce? And so that's why I'm trying to give you little tidbits as we go. And I think I've mentioned this in one of my other classes. We really want to get a garlic that doesn't have any green sprouting. So if you can, it's really important to avoid that. And then I'm just going to do a quick press and pull that garlic out. Now I could just build this right into my NutriBullet, but I'm kind of putting the ingredients in a little at a time, just so you can see them and we can talk about them. But that's the beauty of this NutriBullet, is it's perfect size. I've seen some use the larger food processors, but this I think is just the right size for sauces. Okay, so I got my 2 cloves and now I've got my spices. So the Powerhouse Adobo, and again, if you used your own favorite spice, just be aware that the salt needs to be adjusted if you already have salt in your spice blend, which I really discourage you to do because it's so much better if you can just add salt as you need it. Okay, so there's all my ingredients. Now the last ingredient is water, and so I'm going to use my water dispenser right next to me, and I'm going to start with a smaller amount, like a half a cup, and then add more if I need it. Is it starting to smell good? I think we're starting to get our... Okay, so half a cup. And then I'll do the salt to taste. Oops. And what's nice too is this is so easy to clean. Once we do our first sauce, I'm going to have Bella help me just rinse it out, and we'll do our next one, and it's so easy. All right, looks pretty creamy, right? You can see lots of fresh cilantro still in there. Oh yeah, gorgeous, creamy and beautiful. It's still pretty thick though, right? So if we're gonna use it as a salad dressing, would you agree we need to add a little bit more water? That's what I'm thinking too. Now, if I wanted to add some veggie broth, I could, but I've got so many great flavors going on already. I think it's going to be just fine like this. So if you don't have one of these little NutriBullets, I think it's worth the investment. A lot of times we think of adding the salad dressing because we want to make the salad moist, right? Have it have kind of a good mouthfeel, and this takes care of it. So now I'm going to put it in one of my little jars. It could probably even be a little bit thinner. What do you think? It's not too bad though. I mean, it's going to be nice and rich. You know, so often everybody thinks of ranch dressing as being the all-time favorite. And I think we could make a ranch dressing like with our cashews. Granted, green would not work. Now this particular sauce, because of the avocado, we're going to want to use it up probably pretty fast. Now, but it does have plenty of lime juice too, which, you know, will keep it for quite a while. Now I did not add salt, so we're going to add salt at the end. But see, that looks so good, right? Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Okay. Miss Bella, if you will rinse out my NutriBullet, I will assemble the rest of my ingredients. Thank you, ma'am. All right, so if we wanted to adjust salt, we're going to do it at the end, or if you already know your spice blend has salt, you probably don't need to add any more. The next one is going to be our creamy Tex-Mex. So the cashews are soaked, and then similar profile. It's going to be a date, the taco tango, water, and then again a little bit of lime juice. So super simple ingredients. With our date, we do want to take out the pit. So notice inside it's got a pit, right? So make sure you don't throw that into your NutriBullet. That would be very unhappy. So I love to do my mise en place, which means put everything together. So I've got my date, and here are my beautiful cashews. And it calls for 1 cup. So when we make our cashew cream sauce, we make a large bundle of this, blenderize it with a little bit of either broth or even just coconut milk, and it freezes beautifully. So then you have sort of a thick paste that you can freeze and take out small amounts and do lots of things with it. So including this one. Okay, and then we have our lime. So even though this one's going to have a similar taste profile, adding the little bit of sweetness and the really rich creaminess, I think is going to be a really fun variation. And then instead of the adobo, I'm turning it up a notch with my taco tango, which is this one. And so it's going to have more nuances of cumin and a little bit of heat with the chipotle. The adobo is a little bit softer with the paprika. Okay. So let's check. We've got 2 minutes left, so that's going good. I heard it pop, so hopefully it's behaving in there. Here's my teaspoon of taco tango. And let's get my lime in there. You can use the pre-squeezed lime juice. It comes in a little green little squeeze tub. Have you seen that in the produce section? Those are great too. I'm not gonna lie, I do use that if I don't have limes handy. I use limes all the time in my Pellegrino. Thank you, ma'am. So sometimes I run out of limes, and I always have a backup in my fridge of that little container, and it's lovely. Okay, so I got my mise en place, and I think I've got everything right. We're gonna add the water as we go. Taco tango, the date. It does say 1 or 2. I'm gonna get a second one ready because I'm pretty sure I want that date flavor to really come through. So I'm taking out the pit and dropping it in. Okay, we've got 1 minute left, so I'm watching that. So cashews, dates, a little lime juice, a little taco tango. All right, and that clicked off. Let's see how it's looking. Ooh, those look so pretty. Look at that. Crispy and beautiful. You can hear them, they're crispy. Yes, yes. I'm gonna get a plate in just a second and we'll put them out there. It's off, so let's finish up our sauce and then we get to try everything and assemble them in a beautiful Buddha bowl. And you know, this style too, when we cook them right away, they're gonna be so good crispy. So mise en place again, have your salad ingredients all ready. So I've already mixed the tuna, I've got the greens ready. You kind of set up your bowl and at the last minute put in your hot item that's hot and crispy and your family will just be so impressed. Okay, here comes the next sauce. So, see, it's pretty stiff, right? Because I haven't added the water yet. But like I said, having the paste is absolutely fine. I just want you to see how well it breaks down those cashews. And again, if you soften them even longer, that process will go quicker. But it's so flexible that you don't have to plan ahead and do it overnight. So this is about 3/4 cup of water. You could make a fettuccine Alfredo sauce like this too. Again, not low in calories, but you know, we're less concerned with calories. Oh yeah, looks good. Yeah, see, so now you can see the texture. It looks much more sauce-like, right? I'm gonna add a little bit of salt in now. Oh, look how pretty. So creamy. I don't know, maybe even a little more water. What are you thinking? A little bit more? I think so. Because we kind of like it to lightly dress the leaves, right? And as in normal form, we always have other flavors going on in our Buddha bowl. So I've got the flavors that I've added to the coyote squash, and of course I've dressed the Maui tuna with a little bit of ginger lime. So yeah, there's plenty going on, and you don't want it to overpower, but you want them to really marry nicely together. Oops, darn it, I meant to add more water in there. Just a tad more. So probably do need the full cup because I added 3/4 and now I've got another quarter. So I think that's more than fair. And remember, I'm making quite small batches. The avocado one, I would really agree with keeping it a small batch because it won't last long. But heck, I mean, that's really just a half of an avocado. You could practically drink that stuff and be okay. Oh yeah, texture looks good. Yeah, very pretty. Yeah, much better, right? That's looking good. Now this kind of reminds me of Thousand Islands. Am I dating myself? Thousand Islands is old, right? Nobody does that anymore. I remember when McDonald's first came out and that secret sauce, it was just Thousand Island, right? As a kid, I was so excited about McDonald's, and oh, I've learned my lesson. Yes, okay, here it goes. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh, with all of our masks on, I don't really get to taste while I'm cooking. And I didn't put salt in, so we'll have to add the salt at the end. But yeah, so nice, right? Sauce number 2. All right, Miss Bella, I need your help one more time. Since I only have one NutriBullet. Thank you so much. Okay, last but certainly not least, the hummus drizzle. And I'm gonna take votes on getting better names. You know, I love really good names, and these are somewhat lacking. I just created this morning, so you can help me with that. So on this one, we've got garbanzo beans. And of course, with the traditional hummus is always where we get the tahini. Now, I really could have just gotten some sesame seeds, right? And in true form, ground them up. But I thought, okay, let me just show you one version where you can take an easier step and have some that's already at least pressed. And the ingredients are really good in this one. Let me read them to you. It is organic sesame seeds and salt. So pretty good, pretty good. All right, and then I decided to add some curry it up, and this is a great version of adding some flavor. It's going to do a little bit of curry, but you could certainly do a different flavor if you wanted to and have a great option. I love this. Oh, it smells so good. So it has paprika, coriander, turmeric, garam masala, anise, and chipotle powder. So really good flavor mix that would add so much to that combination. Okay, so whenever we get our mix back, I'm going to start putting them together, but I'll start doing my mise en place, which is 1 can of garbanzo beans and a tablespoon of the tahini, which would equal 4 tablespoons of sesame seeds. So it's a 1 to 4. Thank you, ma'am. Perfect. Okay, so again, if you want to do real sesame seeds, I highly encourage you to give it a try. But if we're doing the tahini, it's 2 tablespoons. 1, 2. All right, and then we've got our beloved garlic. So I'm going to get, these are somewhat small, so I wouldn't be too serious about counting garlic. I mean, you could always, if you know you like it, I would probably put in 3. Yesterday when I made a salad for Todd and I just put some fresh chopped garlic into the salad. It was a blend of some leftover potatoes and some asparagus and green beans and tomato and kale. And I just chopped up some garlic in there and he loved it. And I said, well, you know, it's supposed to be so good for us. So let's just try it on the raw side. But of course, you can cook it and still have all the benefits. So just a rough chop, put that in. And we've got our ginger if you wanted to add it. I didn't bring it to my table because it's kind of an add-in. And then if you wanted to add in the curry it up, let's do that. Yeah. This is going to give it a beautiful bright orange color too. A little bit more. Okay, let's add it in. I'm sorry? Yes, the date. Thank you. I kept looking at that, and the way she wrote it, I thought, does that really say date? There we go. Thank you, Miss Denise. Don't forget our beautiful date. And be careful because sometimes the pit splits. I've noticed it, you know, it looks like it's going to have just one half, and sometimes there's a piece on the other side. So just be wary of that and make sure you get both of the pieces out. Okay, now we're ready to add it into our mixer here. And there's also a little pit on the end. I tell you, I'm new to date. So I just noticed it has a little pit on the ends too, which, I don't know, Seema, would that just grind up, or is that something I have to really make sure I get out? It will?
It doesn't, it's bland.
But you know how in an avocado there's a end here that you don't want that to drop into your guacamole, right? It almost seemed like that was the case with this, like there's that little pit right there. So I just took it out. I don't know, it might have just ground up and not have been a problem, but didn't want to. And you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and add the salt to this one. We don't even have salt in this one. Oh, I know, because of the tahini. Yes. Tahini sometimes is salted and sometimes not. This one does have salt. All right, here we go.
Doesn't the canned chickpeas have salt?
Oh, sometimes. Yes, ma'am. I'll get it started, and then I'm going to add our water. Just to kind of get it started, because then I can really see how much water I'm going to need. Starting with 3/4 of a cup. All right, here we go. And here we are. Okay, so that looks like a really good texture. I went ahead and just, like I said, did the full 3/4 of a cup this time. And let's see. Well, still pretty thick, right? I say more water. A little bit more. And you know, I'm just going to mix it with my hand so we can kind of see how it starts to give way. This is such a beautiful color, right? Impressive. So see, it doesn't really, if you don't have a NutriBullet, certainly a regular blender will work. Yeah, look at that. Pretty, right? Just fine. All right, jar number 3. What are you thinking we could use some of these sauces for? We could put it over pastas. We could use butternut squash as a base. I see a couple of cashews still in there, so isn't that just gorgeous? Wow. Okay, so now we've got our 3 beautiful sauces. Now we're going to build our Buddha bowls. So again, when we think of that salad, we want to have a nice variety of colors, textures, and for sure, nutrition quality. So I'm going to keep that here. Move these babies aside and start creating. So when I use my little trays, I think it's so pretty because you can kind of see all the colors. And with this particular lineup, I'm going to start with the tuna on the bottom. And that's because I don't want it to get the greens too heavy. So say I'm going to prepare everything, and even if I do hold it for a little while, it'll keep the greens really fluffy, and it still allows me to do the layers of color and texture, and it just looks so pretty. So first, the tuna at the bottom, over in a little side container, and then I have some potatoes that I cooked. So there's our protein and our complex carbs. And I'm going to do them separately. I want to do different ones each way so you can try the sauces. Then I have some pre-mixed arugula with spaghetti squash. So I always say a Buddha bowl should have at least 3 distinct salads or mixtures. The Maui tuna has some red onion. It has a little ginger lime. It has some pineapple. I roasted these potatoes kind of the traditional way. And then my showcase veggies I'm going to put right on the top with that sauce so you can kind of see that flavor. But this is so nice to just drop in the center. And so now I've got cool flavors. I've got crunchy. I've got lots of moisture to make them really stand apart. Same thing with this one. I'm going to put that one on the side. And if you have glass bowls at home, that's so much fun because then you can really show off what you have in the inside. And here is my beautiful spinach greens. So I have at least 2 different greens. I've got the arugula and the spinach. So I'm going to put that kind of off to the side on this one. Tuna at the base. There we go. And then the greens on top, kind of nestled around. And then the sauce is going to really nestle into the greens beautifully. Love it. And I might even top it off with a little bit of cilantro at the very end for our last touch garnish. Okay, so I've got my greens, we've got my tuna, we've got the roasted potatoes, and now for the finale. Here's our beautiful crunchy coyote peppers. Is that right? Squash, yes ma'am. Thank you. Chayote squash. I always think of them as peppers. Okay, so there's the next layer. Pretty. And let's give you a couple of these sweet potato fries also. I just think they look so cool when they're kind of thin cut. See, look how pretty that's going to be. And of course, we could top it with some seeds and nuts. Very nice. Okay, and now for the grand finale, our sauce. All right, so let's do this one. If I had a little squeeze jar, that would be super fun. And we'll do this one on this side. How about, we'll do the avocado one at the end. Ooh, I can't wait for you guys to try these. Now remember, I didn't add a whole lot of salt, and so I'm gonna just know that we probably want to add salt at the end, but because everybody has a different palate for salt, I think it's okay to leave it off at this stage, knowing that, you know, that's one more add-in that we'll want to accomplish. But look how pretty that bowl is. Okay, now let's see, Bella, would you mind getting me one more of these little clear containers? Because I want to do one more with our avocado. Is it there? Oh, there is one. Never mind, my dear. I found it. I thought I had 3. You're so good. You're hired. You are hired, Miss Denise. Okay, so now I've got to have my third mix. So I think with this one, I'm going to do a little different setup. I want to put the greens mixed in with the tuna so you can kind of have a layer where you're really seeing the Maui mix. So see, I'm going to put that kind of on top. Mix it in with the tuna. So that becomes its own little salad, you know, that blend is going to hold the greens really nicely. And then the potatoes. And of course my beautiful squash, chayote squash, and then the sweet potatoes. And I kind of like to throw in a little piece of fruit at the end too. I had some pineapple, which I grilled, and then sadly I forgot to bring it, but I think that would be so neat to put a little grilled piece of pineapple right on the top. And with this one, because we're going to do the avocado sauce, I thought maybe we could do, look, that one turned out really pretty too. And look how ugly it is. I really had my doubts, but it is a gorgeous avocado. So I'm going to cut it, and then the back of the knife is what I'm going to pull it out of the skin. Put that right on the edge just so it looks extra pretty. And then our beautiful avocado sauce. And I'm going to bring out the salt so you can add a little bit to your sample and see what one you like the best. Okay, so this is the avocado base one. And of course, now we've got all 3 sauces to experiment with. Okay, so there you have it. How we can now cook vegetables with no fat at all, and they get a beautiful color, crispness, loaded with flavor. And my hope truly is that as we start experimenting with this more and more, your palate's going to want less heaviness from oil. And you know, believe me, I'm talking to myself too, because I cook with oil a lot. And as I've been studying this, I thought, well, it's really something that I want to try to get used to. It's a great way to save calories. And when we're adding in so many more seeds and nuts, we've got plenty of opportunity to get the nutrition. So, bon appetit.